it's time to start the show. And
That's right.
I'm Coach David Heeb, joined by my brother, Coach Toby Heeb of the North Pim. If you want it, we got it. Come and get it, Mustangs.
You're dang right.
You're dang right. And so we're going to do a little Super Bowl talk, and we're going to dive right in here with something new on the show. First of all, to all of our listeners out there, if you want to text in your comments or anything while we're on the show, the hotline number is 573-693-0613. Text your comments in. We've got several. We won't say your name if you don't want us to say your name, but if you want to tell us who your picks are, we've got several that have already responded to the hotline. And we're going to play a little game here to start the show, like Mike and Mike have Love It or Shove It. Well, we're not Mike and Mike.
We're not.
We are not. But a little game I like to call JWT or JLT. So, is it a just win today?
The first, yep.
Or is it a just lose today?
First edition, right here.
First edition. And Toby, JWT or JLT? Justin Timberlake at halftime for the Super Bowl tonight.
You know what?
Is that a win or a loss?
Right now, I'm thinking this is a strong win. This is JWT.
So you think that is definitely a win?
Oh, yeah. I've seen rumors of him maybe doing some Prince.
Right.
He's performed with a JWT-approved artist, Chris Stapleton, and they've even got a new song out together right now.
They do.
So you don't know what he's going to come out with. He's a high-energy guy, popular. It's going to be entertaining for sure.
I can only
that's a win.
I can only name about 3 Justin Timberlake songs.
Yep.
But I am going to agree with you. That's a win because he absolutely is a great entertainer, and if nothing else, I'm going to like some of his covers. So
exactly,
I'm going with that as a win. And if you could pick somebody else for your halftime tonight, who would you pick instead? Now we're thinking Super Bowl, not a concert you want to go see.
Right,
we're thinking
right.
Super Bowl. Super Bowl halftime. Who would be good?
Just somebody that's really popular. To me in hip hop right now. Even though he got mixed reviews at the college football championship, is Kendrick Lamar. I thought he put on just a little quick 10, 15-minute deal. I thought he was awesome for that. He's obviously got the song Humble that everybody knows, and that's just kind of one that everybody would get into if he was performing it. So,
Solid pick.
Him. Yeah.
Solid pick. I'm gonna tell you mine, and then we're gonna go to our next topic.
All right.
And I'm gonna pick a lady. I think Taylor Swift would be good at halftime. I think she's
a lot
of popular appeal. I would know almost every one of her songs because I have $2.
Right.
And so I'd say T Swizzle. I think she'd be good.
And you know what else? Why that's a really great idea. And if it happens next year, they can thank us. That's going to get a whole new fan base to watch the Super Bowl.
Absolutely. And so NFL, Roger Goodell. You're welcome.
There you go.
Here's our second topic. Is this a win or a loss? Is it a JWT or a JLT? Tom Brady, is he already the GOAT?
Any position or quarterback?
All time. Yeah. Well, let's just stay quarterback, just not to
complicate
the argument.
Okay. Definitely.
Yeah, you think so?
That's a W.
I think if not to get too complicated with the argument, I say yes. If you're just picking the best career of all time, he has had the greatest career.
Best resume. I heard Dan Patrick describe it one time.
Yeah, Dan Patrick was talking about it this week. Like, if you were just picking pure talent, maybe not. Maybe it's John Elway or Dan Marino.
I heard last year the argument, like, what if you just could swap Rodgers and Brady at the beginning of their careers? Would they still hold out kind of how they have? Or Rodgers being more talented, would he have done better things in New England than Brady did? But I just think because of Brady's work ethic and attention to detail, and
he just won the MVP at 40, and so as a 39-year-old, I've got a lot of respect for that, and so
most definitely.
If he wins championship number 6 tonight, here's a question, and I'll throw this out to the hotline. Text in your answer 693-0613, 573-693-0613. If he wins number 6, can anybody ever pass this career that he's had? Are we going to see this again in our lifetime? 6 Super Bowls.
Just for one? No, it won't happen.
I don't think so either. So
it won't. I mean, if somebody gets to 3, I'll be surprised. What's Rodgers got right now? Just one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not happening.
He's already.
And here's why. Here's why it's not going to happen. The game is already changing and evolving. I don't think you're going to see guys playing near as long as we've never seen somebody play as long as Brady.
Right.
So to see somebody else play that long and to play in the same system, the same coach, the same team for that long of a time, I just don't see it taking place.
Here's our pick, and I just got a pick. Just came across the hotline from our good friend and JWT approved coach Brad Botch of the Bernie Mules.
It's gonna be good.
He said Patriots by 7. So that prefaces my next question. It's my next question. JWT or JLT? Eagles shock the world tonight. Is that true or false?
Oh man, we're already getting into this.
This is it. Let's get to it because we got basketball
right
to talk about.
We got to talk about basketball, and this is just your basketball Super Bowl primer here.
That's
so, Eagles shock the world. I can't go with it because I've always been a Patriots fan. Not a huge NFL guy, but what I've watched has mostly been Patriots. I enjoy their success and their greatness, and I'm not going to go against them tonight at all. So that's a JLT right there. Eagles will not shock the world.
I'm going to say this. Every Patriots Super Bowl has been close. Every one has been close. They have not blown anybody out. This is going to be a close game. It's hard for me to pick against the Patriots. But I just have a feeling that the Eagles are going to win. I do. I'm not really rooting one way or another. I root for greatness. I root for things that we might not see again. Just to say, wow, I saw that when it happened. So if Brady could win again, it would be really cool. But I just got a feeling. I don't know why. I've just got a feeling that the Eagles are going to win.
Well, this is also the least talented Patriots team in the Super Bowl, too.
Probably so.
And, so that'll help in the Eagles' favor. Yeah. But I just don't, I don't see it happening. 2 weeks to prepare and get healthy and all that stuff. And I've also been spot on with football picks this year. I nailed the playoffs for college football, the championship game and the pick and everything, and I'm just feeling strong with my pick right now, Patriots.
Yeah, and right now it's really amazing to go through the hotline. We've had about 12 responses so far, people that have texted in, 573-693-0613, in case you were wondering at home. It's about split, Patriots and Eagles.
And my thing right now is if you have not texted in, what are you doing?
What are you doing with your life? And so
come on.
Pete,
texting into the show is a JWT, approved moment.
Yeah, Pete McBride and Travis Day say Eagles. Seth McBroom, Brad Botch are going Patriots. That's just a few of them off the top of the head here. My good buddy Matt Asher says Patriots. They've got the GOAT at quarterback. So we got a few that have texted into the hotline today, and the rest of them are kind of buried down there. I'll try to scroll down through there as the show goes along. Moving on to our next topic, JWT or JLT, and I would love to hear people's opinion out there if you're listening. 573-693-0613. Trae Young, as a college player, win or loss? As a college player. He's putting up great numbers, but like
right.
I've got a little thing going on Twitter right now, and it's kind of going viral. What I call stats are ruining the game.
Yeah.
And he puts up numbers, but then you look and he went 7 out of 22 from the floor,
right?
Or he went 2 out of 14 from 3. Is he really a good player, or is he just putting up numbers? So is it a win or a loss?
What are we going to call? What will we? Consider a win if they make it to the tournament. They're going to do that.
Saying, do you think he's really is he really a good college player, or is he not?
I think he's a good player. Does that make sense? I don't know that I'd love to have him on my team.
Right. Okay.
I think he's a really good player.
He's talent. Okay, that's a good point.
But I don't think just being a coach, you think, all right, I get him to play in my system and how I want him to play. But at the end of the day, there's just those guys like him, like Carmelo, that can do special things. And if you take, you try to get them to do something different, are you taking them completely out of what they do special? Can they find that happy medium? And we've seen it in Trae Young games where he'll go first half 5 points on 3 shots, and have 8 assists, and then the second half he'll completely flip it. Like he cannot. He's one way or the other the whole time.
I would just say this, and I would challenge anybody to disagree with me. In the history of basketball, okay, find me a player who had the ball in his hands as much as LeBron James has, and as much as Trae Young has, as much as Russell Westbrook has, as much as James Harden, John Wall. You could go on and on. That won a lot. I mean, won a lot. I'm talking about championships. Right. Michael Jordan didn't have the ball in his hands that much, and people are going to go, "Oh, Jordan, he had the ball, all the time." No, he didn't. Like he might have finished the play with the ball in his hands a lot, but I heard a statistic one time that Jordan's average time of possession was like 3 seconds. Like the time that he had the ball in his hands for every possession of the game was very low. Like the ball moved, and it got to him at the end of the play, and he finished.
That also means very few dribbles.
Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Isaiah Thomas. You could go on and on and on and on and on. The greats of all time. I think that's the reason LeBron has not won as much as he would have otherwise, even though he's a phenomenal player. So I think the same thing about Trae Young. Moving on to our next topic. This is a good one. Cavs in the NBA Finals this year. Is that a win or a loss?
That's a interesting one because they obviously are atrocious right now. They've got that pick that they could trade, the Brooklyn pick.
But for who? There's nobody.
Yeah, exactly.
Out
there. And they're dangling J.R. Smith out there.
Yeah,
nobody wants J.R.
No, thank you.
The only type of team that would take a J.R. would be a Rockets or a Warriors. Are you going to trade him to one of them?
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Take him. I mean, they wouldn't take him. They wouldn't take him.
I mean, I think that's the only type of team that wants somebody like him that's got a special, just something right there. And you're on the verge of winning.
Right.
You're right there. Maybe you're one piece away.
Okay.
A guy that gets you 15 minutes a night.
Well, the truth is they wanted Boogie Cousins. Excuse me. They wanted Boogie Cousins. He blew his Achilles.
Yeah.
So there's no move to be made.
But here's my thing. We just talked about Brady and how people don't want to bet against him tonight. In a 7-game series, I'm not in the East. I'm not going against LeBron. That is are we? What was it that they will not make the finals or that they will?
It's a win. The Cavs in the NBA Finals. That's a win.
Yeah, it's a win. It's
win?
JWT.
Okay.
They're making it.
Okay.
They're going to be there at the end of the. I mean, who's going to stop them? DeMar DeRozan.
Well, and I'm gonna come right back to it and say this. I'm gonna say it's a win. I think they're in the finals for 2 reasons. One, to beat them, you got to beat LeBron James 4 times in a series. I don't see anybody in the East that can do that. Just
and look at what he does in the playoffs.
Yeah,
too.
and
he turns it up.
And those other guys will pick it up. They're a veteran team. They
haven't played together very much.
No, they practice less than any team in the NBA. That's a fact. That's something they've really been talking about, and Tyronn Lue's kind of been hinting at they're going to start practicing more. But I think that there's one team in the East that jumps out to me that could beat them, and that is the Bucks, because they just got Jabari Parker back.
Yeah.
But they've got a guy, they've got Giannis that can match up with LeBron. Not that he's better
than
LeBron, but you can match up. And but I think to beat them, it's going to take a team that can outscore them because they don't play defense. So if you got say if the Rockets or somebody were in the East, and not even the Rockets are really good, but just a team that can really score. Those are the teams that are making them look bad right now. They're really making them look bad. Whereas,
so you're saying that you got to get in a game with them and really increase the number of possessions.
I just don't. The Wizards are not that team. The Celtics are not that team. The Celtics play great defense, but when you get in the playoffs and the Cavs tighten up the screws just a little bit, they're gonna have enough to beat all those teams. I think the only team that can beat them is the Bucks. So I'm saying they probably won't line up anywhere near each other.
Right.
Like the Bucks might get on the other side of the bracket and get beat by the Wizards or the Raptors or somebody.
Yeah, the way it's looking, they'll probably end up like one's going to be a 3, the other's going to be a 4 or 5.
Right, and so I think that the Cavs are going to make the finals. I think everybody needs to
and one more thing about the Cavs is, like you said, everybody needs to chill out. We always criticize LeBron for just getting all his buddies on a team, and he never wants to play with young guys. It's always veterans. This is where that pays off, I think. You
Right.
can struggle and struggle and struggle to where, now that we've been through this together, we've been through some battles together, they can kind of flip a switch. They can flip it enough to where they get to the finals out of the East.
Okay, this is the part I've really been looking forward to right here. I have been looking forward to this. Are the Wizards better without John Wall? And everybody that follows the show, Otto Porter, a.k.a. Bubba, he's our man. We know him personally. We rode to school with him. He owes me gas money. Everybody knows that. Okay, but I love him to death. We root for him, and we both get. And I think a lot of Bubba Porter fans get frustrated.
Yeah.
At the amount of times he'll have a game, he only gets to shoot 9 times, and you read the Washington Post and the Bullets Forever and all the blogs about the Wizards where they say, oh, he's got to get more involved in the offense. But it's like there's reasons he's not involved. And I'm going to give you some numbers here, okay?
Yeah.
Here's some numbers. Average time of possession in the NBA, which means the amount of time a player has the ball in his hands on every one of his team's possessions. And I want to remind you that there's only 24 seconds on the shot clock. And the point guard a lot of times doesn't start out with the ball. Like the center or somebody might rebound it. So when they get the ball, there might only be 22 seconds left on the shot clock or something like that.
Right.
Top 3 guys in the NBA, Russell Westbrook, 9.4 seconds per possession. James Harden, 9.1. John Wall, 8.6. And what's amazing about those 3, all 3 played for Scott Brooks.
Yeah.
James Harden and Russell Westbrook, you got to remember, Harden came off the bench and ran the bench unit for the Thunder, where he was the point guard. And Russell Westbrook was the starter. He was out there as the point guard. And so Scott Brooks has taught all 3 of these guys to just dribble some
Create
more,
your
and
own
then
stuff.
dribble some more. Everybody else standing in the corner. Remember KD being frustrated to the point he left because they built their whole culture around everybody stand here and watch the point guard dribble. Well, now look at the Wizards. It's the same thing, and I'm going to go even a little deeper than that. Average seconds per touch, okay? So this is not the amount of time that he's got the ball in his hands, but every time he touches it, how long does it take him to get rid of the ball? The number 1 guy in the NBA, John Wall, 6.4 seconds. It's a fact. He holds the ball longer than any player in the NBA. Number 2
which is insane.
Is James Harden at 6.28. And here's to dive a little deeper into that. Average dribbles per touch, okay? John Wall, again, is right up there near the top, 5.63 dribbles per touch. Points, and here's where the difference is. It's him and Harden are basically the top 2 over dribblers in the league. Okay? Harden averages 0.36 points per touch, and Wall is averaging 0.24, which that doesn't sound like a huge difference, but that's a huge difference. That's a 33% increase. So the ball is in one guy's hands so much, and he's very inefficient with the ball.
That's what, yeah.
He's if you're on his team, you're left standing watching him dribble for a really long time, and then you get the ball at the end of the shot clock where the only choice you have is to put up a jump shot.
And it's a tough shot. And it
It's a
also
tough
gets
shot.
you out of a flow as a player.
Right.
You don't have a rhythm. It's kind of like being on in a baseball game and the pitcher starts walking everybody.
And so
you ain't had a ball hit your way in a little while.
Yep.
And then one comes, you forget how to react.
Yeah, you're standing there stiff. So one thing people like to say about John Wall to wall, plays hard, so fast, he flies up and down the floor. This is the pace of play for guards in the NBA. This is 1s and 2s, point guards and shooting guards. John Wall, with all that speed, he ranks 67th in the NBA in pace of play. Like, he's one of those.
It's hard to go anywhere when you're crossovering 17 times before you try to go north and south.
Here are some guys who play faster than John Wall. Dwayne Wade. Kyle
He's barely
Lowry,
got knees.
Emmanuel Mudiay. Elfrid Payton. Chris Dunn. DeMar DeRozan. Ben Simmons. Klay Thompson. Nick Young. Lou Williams. Malik Monk. Jordan Clarkson. J.J. Redick plays faster than John Wall. That's
Unbelievable.
probably all that needs to be said. Brandon Ingram plays faster than John Wall. The top two guys in the NBA at pace of play, well, the top three, Steph Curry, Mike James, who is a backup guard for the Pelicans.
Isn't he like a 40-year-old rookie?
Yeah, and Lonzo Ball. So basically, Steph Curry and Lonzo Ball, they are actually the fastest two in the NBA in pace of play. But think about why that is. They move it ahead. And so, their usage percentage is not near what John Wall's is. When you compare things like that, like this amount of time that they actually have the ball in their hands. And so,
and that goes back to what we were saying about Trae Young too.
The ball's in his hands so much. You can't beat good teams that way. You can beat teams that you have more talent than playing that way. Yeah. But you cannot, and I'm going to go back, and I always talk about this guy, but a guy that I coached, Dom Johnson, who is the best winner that I've ever been around in my life that I coached. Dom, he had a high usage rate. We used Dom a lot. But if you recall, and you know this because you played for me, our rule was move it early, get rid of it, move it ahead. And I used to always teach Dom, when you've got that ball, there's 5 sets of eyeballs looking at you. If you will move it ahead, first of all, your teammates have a chance to make a play now, an easy play. Yeah. Second of all, if we're going to train them not to take bad shots. So when the ball does come back to you, you're not the point guard anymore. You're just a player now. Get rid of it, move it ahead, and then when it comes back to you for a split second, you're going to have a one-on-one opportunity.
With the help out of position and all that stuff.
The defense is all stretched out. And so, that's just the way I believe the game should be played. So back to our question, John Wall is a tremendous talent. Let's not underlie the fact that he's a tremendous talent. So are the Wizards better without Wall? Is that a win or is that a loss?
With everything you just said, and that they're playing really good right now. They've won 4 in a row. Like we were talking about Bubba, he's averaging right now 19.75 points and I think about 6 rebounds a game without Wall through these 4 games. But this is a small sample size. They're playing better right now without Wall, but I think that's going to be a loss. They're not better without Wall. He's an all-star. He's their most talented guy. I think hopefully this opens his eyes up to how they should play. And he should do less of what he does. But, they've been to the, Eastern Conference semifinals 2 out of 3 years or something like that. They've made it pretty deep runs. A lot of those are where he's hurt and he's playing through injury. Last year they fell apart the last 2 games. I think it was against Celtics. He didn't guard anybody, but they're not there without him. And I don't think they're there without him again this year.
Well, here's what I think.
You listen to me closer than you've ever listened to me before.
You listen to me closer than you've ever listened to me before. Okay? I do think that the Wizards are better with John Wall than without. I do. I agree with you. That statement is a loss. They're better with John Wall. But I think that this is not going to change until they change coaches. And if you go back, just so that I'm being consistent with what I say, I
know where you're going.
I said when the Wizards hired Scott Brooks, he is a great player development coach. Like if you have young players, they are going to get better under Scott Brooks because he's good at that. Go back to the Thunder, Durant, Ibaka, Harden, Westbrook, Steven Adams. So many guys that they drafted and those guys panned out. Now go to the Wizards, Wall and Bill are, Wall was kind of already on his way, but Bill was not a sure thing. They tried to trade Bill for Harden at one point. They wanted to trade Bill. Bill, he has taken Bill to another level. Bill is having a good year. I think he needs to increase his efficiency a little bit also. He's kind of a volume shooter right now, but look what he's done with Bubba. Look what he's done with Kelly Oubre. Kelly Oubre's having a great year. He's really
and the guy Saturnowski that has filled in for John Wall.
He is a developer of talent for sure, but there is a ceiling to the way he coaches because the way he has his point guards play. So you're going to get to about your level of talent, and then that's it. You're not getting any better. Like they're going to always be a top 8 to 10 team in the NBA, because they've got some good pieces, but they're never going to beat the Celtics. They're never going to beat like they should have beat the Celtics last year. I mean, honest to goodness, should have beat the Celtics last year. They're not going to beat LeBron as long as LeBron's in the East. They're not, and so I think a coaching change has to be made. They need to give Scott Brooks a high five, thank him for developing these guys and taking them to the next level, and then get a coach in there that's going to institute a ball movement system, somebody from the Spurs, Warriors, that type of background. Almost what we saw with the Atlanta Hawks a couple years ago. The Hawks with far less talent than the Wizards have right now, they were just blitzing everybody in the NBA. They were. And so I just think that's my take on that. So moving on, I want to talk about our interview with Coach McFerrin for just a minute. In case you didn't get to hear the interview, Coach McFerrin was on the show last Sunday night. We put that on the show, and then we put the entire interview up, my talk with Coach McFerrin. It's on the website. If you go to justwintoday.com and check out the podcast section, it's on there. And Coach McFerrin, one of the all-time great coaches in the history of this state. In my opinion, you could argue he's the greatest coach in the history of this state. Him, Coach Cookson, Coach Bywell, Paul Hale, and then there's some guys from the other parts of the state like Bud Lathrop from Raytown. You had just different guys all over the state, that would be on that list also. But Coach Mack, one of the greats of all time, I want to focus in on one thing he said. Nuts and bolts here, right here, that you can take back to your team. He talked about pressuring the ball up the floor. And he made one profound statement that I think could get glossed over in just some of the really cool stories he was telling. And that was, he said he taught his players to not let the dribbler cross over in front of them. Do not let him cross over. And so if that's the case, you have two choices. To speed dribble past me, like say I've got it in my right hand, and you are not going to let me cross over. I'm 75 feet from the goal. You're right there on me. I can just go as hard as I can right, which they're going to outrun you and make you turn. They are.
Yeah.
And they're not going to let you cross over, so you're going to have to spin. You're going to have to reverse dribble or go behind the back. You're going to have to do something else to get from right to left. And think about two things. One, he's forcing you to speed dribble, which eventually is going to wear you out if you're not in good shape. And number two, he's forcing you to zigzag. So instead of going 80 feet down the floor, you're going 139 feet down the floor.
Right. And the interesting thing about the way he's forcing you to zigzag is the crossover is the quickest way to change right to left hand or left to right hand. Behind your back is going to be a little slower. Spin move, a lot slower. Through your legs, a little slower.
Spin move, you're taking away vision.
And you're taking exactly.
If I spin, you can come in behind and trap me.
So that's not only I'm chasing you down as a defender. I'm chasing you, and then I cut you off. Well, now I got even more time to catch up and square up because you're going to go behind your back. You're going to spin. You're going to make a slow move from right to left. So that's giving me more of a chance as a defender. So yeah, that's a really neat way of looking at that and doing it.
Yeah, it's that's one thing for sure. And we're getting other texts that are coming in here. The Patriots are slowly creeping into the lead here. I'd say without counting it, I'd say it's probably about 15-12 have voted for the Patriots to win this game. But everybody's picking a close game. But back to Coach McFerrin here. I agree that's a neat way to teach that. And most kids don't have 2 or 3 different ways to change hands.
Yeah.
Like you said, most kids have, it's common to just cross over. Kids learn that even at a young age. But, to cross over between your legs or go behind your back or to spin, that's the only other 3 ways I can think of to get from left to right, But it's going to take a more skilled player to do that.
Yep.
And
you said, if you're speed dribbling the whole night and you're not used to that.
If he's forcing you to speed dribble, to stop and go, and like I said, to zigzag, just to take a longer route to get from one end of the floor to the other.
Yeah. And something else I've noticed with kids, once they get, and obviously it's going to be different, you get to a better player or whatever, but once they get going full speed, it seems like everything else they zone out of everything else for a second. And it's like, okay, I finally beat this guy. I'm ahead of him. I'm just going to keep going and going and going. they'd almost run through a wall if you put it in front of them. So that kind of changes their way of thinking as a ball handler where, man, I've been turning, and I finally beat him. Well, I'm not going to turn. I'm just going to keep going and going and going. And I'm not stopping. He ain't never catching me again.
There's a kid here in Columbia that I love to watch play, a kid named, I don't know his last name, but Marcus is his first name. He's a point guard for Columbia Battle. And I go watch a lot of the games here in town. I've got to know the coaches here in town, and I say this sincerely. Marcus is my favorite player to watch play in Columbia, and he's a point guard who is he's a Dede Gillespie caliber athlete, which Dede's probably the best point guard athlete I ever coached. I mean, just pure athlete. Was state champion 400 meter, open 400 runner. Went to state in the 100, the 200, the 400 in 1 year. I mean, guy was a phenomenal athlete, tremendous vertical. Marcus is that kind of athlete, maybe just a hair below Dede, but you can never tell that Marcus is that quick. You have to watch him play a lot of times to tell that, because he plays with so much change of pace. Mm-hmm. And so he never looks as quick as Dede did until you see it in a flash, like, whoa, that was really quick. And but to your point, guys need to change directions to take advantage of that speed. But I just thought that was a profound thing that Coach Mack said, and I wanted to highlight it again in case, like I said, that got glossed over in the last thing we talked about, because if you didn't take anything else from that, I think that is the key to pressure defense. And we pressed everybody. And I used to always teach you guys when we were putting our press in, we did a lot of man-to-man drills, and if we could play man-to-man, we would. But we also had that zone press in our back pocket. And I used to tell you guys that the press, it all starts with just one-on-one ball pressure. And if you can get one-on-one ball pressure to make this guy do these things that Coach Mack is talking about, make him go. You have to make him go and then overrun him to make him change directions. Turn him as many times as you can.
Beat him to a spot.
And so I thought that was great what he said. And if you didn't get to hear that, I mean, go back and listen to it. I tried not to talk a whole lot in that interview just because, I mean, that's just such a treat to get to talk to him. And we actually talked on the phone, for over an hour. I only put the part of it in there that was the interview, but just, he is such a treat to talk to. So changing gears here, we're coming down the stretch here. How many games do you guys have left for the district?
We start our conference tournament tomorrow. And, just by looking around and seeing what I see on the internet, we're about the last ones to start the conference tournament.
Yeah, you always are.
And so we start that tomorrow, and then I believe it's 2 games after that. So, you're looking at anywhere from 3 to 6 games, depending on how we do. And that's about everybody else in our conference, So out of these last 5-6 games, everybody's looking at, 3 of them against conference opponents probably in this tournament. So we're right here at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's, I think we've got 2 weeks left with our own team, or maybe 3 weeks, but we're right here at the end. We're right here at the end. And the point is, time is precious now. And so I'm going to tell you what I used to always do, and then I would love to, hear back from other coaches for just some ideas that they're using here at the end of their season. But what we used to always do at this time of year is we have gone through our conference play, and we've kind of gone through that. I always talk about January as such a lull. So in January is when I would cut practice back to an hour, hour and a half. We didn't practice on the weekends. We did come in and shoot. We didn't take the day off, but we didn't come in and run up and down the floor and scrimmage. So I always felt like at the end of January, you had your legs back a little bit. And so then we get to February, and we go back to like day one, where we're doing shell drill like extensively. We always did the shell drill, but now we're going back to like we've never done it before. And we're really, really harping on those backbone drills that we always talk about, the shell drill, the 4-on-4 rebound, and the cycle fast break drills, the things that we do. This is who we are. Almost like, hey, there's no really scouting going on right now. I mean, we would gloss over, hey, we're playing this team, but by this point in the year, everybody knows each other,
Right.
And so really we looked internally at this time of year. This is who we are, because I feel like, you've had so much time with your team now. You know what you're good at. You know what you're not good at. Like, say, for example, you've had one out-of-bounds play all year that you've never hardly run. You almost scrap that play. Or if it's never worked, you almost scrap that play. Or maybe this is the time of year where, you've been experimenting with something where you say, hey, this is a really good thing for us. Let's take this and put it in. And so probably one of the most profound examples of that was the last year that I was at Bell City when we had played Scott County Central twice at this point in the year. We were going to play them again right here at the end of the season, sometime in February. And they had just killed us both times we played.
Yeah.
And, just killed us. And that was after Dom graduated. We had a really young team, and they had all their players back except for Chris Pullen. They were really good. And I think had they beat us, they might have won the state tournament that year. But we ended up beating them in the playoffs because for the last 2 or 3 weeks of the season, all we did was focus on what we had to do to get better. Like, this is who we are. But also we bought into this little wrinkle, like this is the kind of defense we're going to have to play to beat them. And that was changing defenses, using a multiple look. One trip we're going to go 2-3, one trip we're going to go 1-2-2, one trip we're going to go man, to try to keep them off balance because they
couldn't get comfortable that way.
They had more talent than we did. And so we had to, we were younger, so we had to kind of overcome that a different way. So what do you think about this time of year? What kind of things are you talking about with your team right now as you're getting ready for the district tournament?
Our thing, we're in a different spot than, we were back then at Bell City or at Scott Central, where we're just still trying to develop and get better. We're young, and everybody be coming back next year. So, we're just competing is our main thing. We want to go out and keep competing, to keep getting better every day, practice or game, and see if we can't find something through the course of a game that works, that can translate and carry over into another game. And most of the time that's just, different little effort plays, or maybe they find something new that, we've never been able to do it during the game, and all of a sudden it just clicks. So, we're kind of there in that situation. We just want to continue to compete where it's been a long season. We haven't won much. So that's our main thing right now, is just going out and playing ball, playing hard.
Yeah, and I've come across this. Al Jones, one of our a friend of the program. Al was a longtime journalist in Southeast Missouri, and now he lives up in Illinois. But he said, I had to share something with you that I ran across while watching the Super Bowl pregame show. And it's the final 1A, 2A poll. And it does not have a year on here, but I can tell you, Al, that this is probably from 1985, if I were guessing. Scott County Central boys 33-1, and this is after the state tournament. Northeast Nottoway was 29-1, so their only loss was to us in the state finals. Our only loss that year was to Charleston, by the way. Lost to Charleston in the finals of the Christmas tournament by 2 points. And then the 1A girls, Scott County Central finished 33-1, and the Northeast Nottoway girls finished 27-3. So you had 1-2 and 1-2, and so. But yeah, it's pretty neat to look down through here. Some of the 2A teams that were good that year. You had this is really neat. Twin Rivers was ranked 6th. Clearwater was ranked 7th. Clearwater finished 25-1. So they just got beat in the playoffs. And then here's really fascinating. The number 10 team in the state in 2A boys was Nixa. Think about that for a minute. Nixa is one of the bigger 5A schools in the state now. And so that's a whole other topic. I'm going to put this article out probably tonight. I'll probably put it out tonight, and this is the last thing. We got about 5 minutes left. But just the shrinking boot heel. The boot heel has lost in the last 25 years. That's as far back as I can go in the data and look at student enrollment. About 6,000 students have left the Boot Heel of Missouri, and I'm going even a little north of the Boot Heel up to Cape.
Right.
Sykes and places like that.
That's mind-blowing too. You think about that many kids.
Yeah, I mean, and what was more fascinating to me than looking at just the overall loss of enrollment in Southeast Missouri was the fact that nobody except Jackson High School has really grown. I mean, literally every school down there has lost enrollment. Everybody, except for probably 5 schools. And the other 4 have gained like 10 kids, 100 kids in the last 25 years, which is really not growth at all if you think about it. But Jackson they have really grown in the last 25 years as, Cape and some of the other people around them have shrunk a little bit. A lot of those people are going to Jackson. But every other school in the Boot Heel, you go down through Charleston, they're like literally like half the size they were 25 years ago. New Madrid County Central, Crothersville, Hayti, Portageville, like especially up that river. As you're going up the river, a lot of those schools' enrollment has really declined. And so when you talk about that golden age of the 80s we've talked about before, where Southeast Missouri was putting 3 teams in the Final Four consistently, and a lot of times it was Scott Central, Charleston, and one other school. You know what I mean? It was.
Right.
But even the years that it wouldn't be Charleston going, Malden had a great run. There were some good teams in the mid-'80s. New Madrid had a great run there in the mid to late '80s. Where like those schools would beat Charleston and go in and take their place. Then you had the run of 2A teams like Portageville, Cape Notre Dame. There's some schools that made those runs. All those schools that are your traditional powerhouses, their enrollment is down at least 25% compared to what it was all those years ago. So not only everybody wants to point at, we don't have the same level of coaching that we had back then, because you had a Cookson, a McFerrin, a Bidwell, a Paul Hale, and we did lose, 4, 5, 6 Hall of Fame coaches.
Right.
But I would argue right now you have some great young coaches in Southeast Missouri, some really good up-and-coming coaches. And, guys are even in the middle of their career, like Aaron Bidwell, Brad Botch. You could go on. There's some really good coaches down there. But then we've still got some Hall of Famers left. Danny Farmer, who I think when he's done, he's going to be on that same Mount Rushmore with the Cooksons and the McFerrins and everybody else. Danny Farmer's got a handful of state championships himself, probably 4, 5, 6, something like that. And so, that guy is one of the all-time greats. Greg Hollifield, one of the all-time greats. But the difference is not the coaching, it's that we do not have the enrollment down in that part of the state. And we are not growing in that part of the state like they are in the suburban counties of St. Louis. Like Columbia is a perfect example. Columbia had to build a 4th high school or 3rd high school, Columbia Battle, where they used to have 2 high schools. Now they have 3 high schools. Jefferson City just built a 2nd high school. They're going to split their 2 schools in half because in one high school they had 2,800 kids. So they're going to have to make 2 schools now. And so these other parts of the state are growing, and that's like a whole socioeconomic, societal debate, what's going to happen with these other schools. But
and that goes to show something else that everybody says is we just don't have the same level of talent we used to. And it's not necessarily that. It's just, like you said, we don't have the kids.
There's on average, there's 7 fewer students in every classroom in Southeast Missouri. Like 7 fewer kids in 1st grade, 7 fewer kids in 2nd grade, 7 fewer kids in 3rd grade. That's staggering.
That's 28 kids in high school.
28 kids in high school. Now, if you got really deep into the numbers, it would spread out a little more. Like you haven't lost 7 kids per grade level at North Pemiscot.
Right. Well, going back to the 80s now, which that's a longer than 25 years ago, but they were a Class 2 school at North Pemiscot.
School. You're literally
200 something kids.
You're literally half the size that you used to be.
Exactly.
So,
over 30 years or something.
So it's just amazing, and that's something. Again, I'm going to put that article out today, and so we got to wrap this up. This was a great show. I appreciate everybody texting in. The hotline 573-693-0613. We will still take some text, and be sure to check out that article. It'll come out later tonight where I'm talking about just the overall decline of Southeast Missouri basketball, and it's not a knock on anybody down there. It's just we're losing so many kids in that part of the state.
Just numbers.
And so have fun watching the Super Bowl, Tobe, and we'll do this again next week.
That's right.
Okay, everybody have a good one.